Well, hello and welcome. If you are just joining me, today we are looking at setting up your piece for success. Hello and welcome. I am Monte Monique, founder and creator of Move Over Mozart, the only place where you can learn music how you want, where you want, and when you want. It doesn't matter what kind of learner you are, whether you are a youthful learner or a mature learner, there are tons of resources and tons of lessons for any level that you might be at. Now, for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at setting up your piece for success, and I have left a free download for you to follow along with this lesson. And don't forget to like and subscribe because there is a new lesson out every Wednesday, and you don't want to miss your lesson. And if you have a comment or question about this lesson, just leave something for me in the comment section below and I will respond to you. And you can also DM me over on Instagram at #MoveOverMozart. So setting your piece up for success. So what does that mean? So there are 10 steps to setting your piece up for success. Now imagine you open your new music and you're thinking, how am I going to learn all of this music? If you follow each of these steps, I guarantee you will set your piece up for success. So if you remember, in the last lesson, we looked at step number 1, which was numbering the measures. And in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at step number 2, which is determining the tempo. And I'm going to be answering some questions. So let's start with the first question. Now, if you're completely new to music, you might not know what the word tempo means. So tempo means time. Yes, time. So why do we determine the tempo? Why is it important? So the main reason is when a composer composes a piece of music, he puts a tempo marking, the speed at which we should play the piece he composed. And it's out of respect for the composer that we follow his tempo markings. Now, the next question is, how do we determine the tempo? So I'm going to give you a really quick example. So this tempo is andantino, the quarter note at 126. And in music we have something called beats per minute. So this is the number of beats occurring every 60 seconds, and that will determine your tempo. Now, if you have a metronome, all you have to do is just put 126 to the quarter note and it will give you 126 beats per minute, and that's your tempo. And tempo is important because it's another way to artistically communicate with the audience, and it's a way to communicate with your instrument and through your instrument how you play. Now, the sample for today we're going to be looking at is Minuet in A minor. Now, before we dive into this step number 2, I want to give you a heads up. So for next week, we're going to be looking at step number 3, which is locate the key signature, and you're definitely not going to want to miss that lesson. So let's jump in and let's look at our piece, Minuet in A minor, and let's see what does the tempo look like. So this is step number 2 as part of setting your piece up for success, determining the tempo. So I'm going to go in and grab a blue pencil. You can grab any color pencil that you like. I just like the color blue. And what I would like you to do is I would like you with me to underline the tempo marking in this piece. And usually they will just have the tempo right at the top of the piece. So go ahead and underline that with me. So we have andantino, so the quarter note beats per minute is between 120 and 132. And remember, we talked about earlier about this means that this is the number of beats per minute. Now, I would strongly suggest that you don't start practicing your piece at the stated tempo. I would begin practicing at a much slower pace. For example, this is just what I would do, and what I suggest that you do something along these lines. It depends on your experience and how quickly you're able to learn the notes and keeping your technique intact and all of the details. So for this piece, I would start out practicing maybe the quarter note, maybe to 72, and then for the next practice I might increase my speed to I would say maybe 88. So you need to increase your tempo in small increments, making sure that you can keep those details intact. So something else that you might want to take note of is sometimes, not always, but sometimes composers can be a little bit tricky. And sometimes they'll put a tempo change in the middle of the piece. Say, for example, they'll put largo, which means slow. They could have a tempo change. So be really careful and watch for all of the tempo changes. So that just about covers it for tempo markings. And the reason tempo is so important is because when you go and put your music journal and your music checklist together, this is going to be a fundamental to making sure that you reach all of your musical goals. Okay, now remember, next week we're going to be looking at step number 3. So you've just completed your lesson, and I want to tell you, a job well done. Learning a new instrument is not easy. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you'd like to share your music with me, that would be most exciting. All right, we'll see you at your next lesson.